I think this was the first spark that actually helped me to think beyond the call of my duty. From the very beginning, I never behaved as an employee. I
Okay.
always behaved as an entrepreneur. See, while I was growing up as a student, I did not have really many mentors to guide me.
If you have an idea which you strongly believe in and have the spirit of entrepreneurship thriving inside you, then trust me, this is the show totally for you. From the family of Reed Skyline, I welcome you to the 14th episode of The Business Boss. The effective leaders are those who create the commitment rather than the compliance. The guest of the day today is definitely one such kind because he's basically the evangelist of electric vehicles and the crusader of green energy. And he is creating the same commitment in the industry also through his journey as COO. Being in the industry in different positions and in different companies, his ideas and thoughts are fresh, young, motivating, that anybody who listens to him will ultimately say, yes, we have to do this. So I'm very happy to welcome such an enthu personality to the show today, Mr. Rajeev YSR, the Chief Operating Officer at Avaan India. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Subulakshmi, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I'm very excited to have this conversation with you because I've
Mhm.
seen all the previous videos of yours. You've got the flow. I'm sure even this show is going to be the same way.
Beautiful, excellent. Yeah, let's see how best and what best we can give to the
Yes,
audience today. Yeah,
yes, sir. So to start off, so please tell us what is the idea behind Avan India and how did your journey cross the path with Avan?
great. So I'm an automobile engineer by my qualification, bachelor's in mechanical and master's in automotive engineering. And I've started my career with automotive companies like TVS Motors. I started my career with TVS Motors company,
Mhm,
Hosur as senior design engineer. Then I worked with Bosch and Mahindra.
mhm,
While I was with TVS Motor Company, I really had a lot of opportunity because I was into the research and development. I had the opportunity to look at different bikes. I mean, most of the bikes and the motorcycles that we see in India are 100 and 150cc, maximum maybe 200 to 50cc, right?
mhm,
But then, being part of the R&D, I had access to bikes of 1000cc, 1500cc, right? Real heavy
okay.
super bikes.
Mhm,
And I always wondered, why are these bikes only limited to right, the only limited to fascination and the Western market, but not Indian market, right?
mhm,
That used to be my worry, and my I would say thoughts were used to wander upon. But then I thought, now that I worked there as the senior design engineer for frame and vehicle layout. That means how the
okay.
vehicle, not necessarily in the aesthetics, but how the vehicle is packed,
Okay.
how
Mhm,
the components of the vehicle are packed, and how the ergonomics of the rider is. The complete build of the vehicle is under my purview. Then I thought, okay, maybe I may not be able to bring those super bikes to India, but now that I'm a design engineer with one of the country's largest two-wheeler manufacturing company, why don't I bring the user experience, or why don't I bring the riding experience of those bikes to the Indian commuters? Right? That was the trigger. And I thought, yeah,
interesting.
I think this is really crazy, right? I mean, I get to ride the bikes. I know the Indian market. I know the Indian mindset. I know the buying potential.
Mhm.
Now, as an engineer, if only I can add value by bringing those user experiences and imparting them into my design, then as a design engineer, I was successful. I think this was the first spark that actually helped me to think beyond the call of my duty, right? Why I'm talking about this, even though you asked the question about Avan, these becomes the building blocks, right, to the answer that I'm going to give you. So
Mhm,
what I've done, I have looked at those bikes. I have looked at Yamaha, other Indian bikes that I've benchmarked at the time are Yamaha FZ16 and Honda CB Twister, because the number of the volumes are high.
mhm,
TVS, number 1D is a successful one, the TVS Excel
mhm,
Super. Then TVS Victor also a successful one, TVS
mhm,
Apache and TVS Star, right? But
Yes.
other than that, there wasn't much, right? Many other products which these kind of things. So that is when I started, right, incorporating these things, benchmarking these, and for the first time within the span of 9 months from where I passed out of my college, I built this product. Though a
Oh,
proto version, but I was very very happy about it because the product was such a beautiful and excellent thing, all to the international standard. The story is all beautiful until now, correct?
yes, so totally.
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
uh, it's all
I'll tell
about the
you the
passion. I could see that in your words.
yeah. Now let me tell you the twist, right?
Mm.
Uh, uh, so the design is being reviewed by
Okay.
the multiple functions, right? I mean, you have production department, you have design department, you have, I mean, you have safety, sales, marketing. Everybody would review the design because end of the day, though I am the creator of it, it needs to be owned by everybody, and then the end
Yes.
customer needs to like.
Mm.
And my process engineers, right, the process team,
Mm.
when they looked at the design, they said, "Hey, you know what? This is going to fail."
Oh.
My dreams were dashed, man. I have spent in a lot of efforts and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
innovation and brought the best of user experience there and built it into
Mm-hmm.
the product, and how dare these guys say it would fail? Then I asked why.
Yes.
Is
Mm-hmm.
it the design by itself is excellent, right?
Okay.
But then if this design has to be produced, new jigs and fixtures and new platforms are to be installed in the welding line, right? Because basically
Oh.
you have multiple tubes which are to be welded together to form a frame.
Mhm.
That is when, that is when I realized that I was no longer a student who has the whims and fancies and right and the audacity of bringing all his whims and fancies into product. But that is when I have realized that I'm an industrialist, I'm an employee, I'm a professional, I'm an engineer, right? I have multiple constraints that I need to abide with and still bring the beauty out of it, right? So I got their message, understood what it is, brought it up all together, ensured that the jigs and fixing points of the frames remained the same.
Okay.
In a way, I overlapped the designs with the old days,
Mhm.
yet not deviating from the serenity and the sanctity of my original design. And then what happened after a couple of months? The project was passed, right?
Wow.
So
Mhm.
I mean, that was the first time where I could see all of the components of going beyond the call, looking beyond the problem, trying
Mhm.
to address a problem with innovation. Right now, why I said that? Now, 10 years passed. Let me come to the birth of Avaan India.
Mm.
I joined Gati Logistics Company
Okay.
because Gati Logistics Company had a need at that point of time. Gati signed a contract with IKEA. If you are
Okay.
aware what IKEA
Yes.
is,
IKEA.
IKEA is a
Mm.
company which deals with the furniture and home
Furniture.
decor and all those things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now IKEA is into India and it is based out of Hyderabad.
Hyderabad.
And
Yes.
Gati is the last mile delivery partner for IKEA. That means
Oh.
people who
Okay.
purchase from the stores,
Mm.
the products have to be delivered to their
Deliver
home.
to them. Mm.
Yeah. Now, IKEA is part of EV100 campaign, right? The audience
Okay.
and you might Google it and see. What does this
Sure.
EV100 campaign mean? Group of companies have come together and taken a pledge or an oath saying that by 2030, we will convert all our mobility into electric.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Mm.
So Wipro is one of the EV100 campaigns. SBI is part of EV100 campaigns, and so was
Mm-hmm.
IKEA too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gati being the logistics partner of IKEA, there is a contractual obligation for Gati also to
To
convert their
enter into
delivery
that.
solutions into
Mm-hmm.
electric. But
Mm-hmm.
then Gati at the time was a pure logistics company and had limited exposure to either automobile or electric mobility. So they wanted someone to kind of build them, help them, and set these operations up. Right, that is the limited scope with which I was onboarded. Well, I joined Gati. So as per the percentage obligation, that is first year it should be 20%, second year 40%, third year 60%, and so on and so forth. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We identified few vehicles in the market. We deployed those
Okay.
vehicles, and we started delivering the last mile products through electric vehicles. Now,
Interesting. Mm.
this is what we are asked for. This is what I have been recruited for. This is what Gati is asked for by IKEA.
Mm-hmm.
But then the very news that Gati started delivering vehicle products through electric vehicles spread around the country like a wildfire, to a
Oh.
certain extent that we received an invitation from Niti Aayog chairman,
Huh.
right, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Amitabh Khan,
Mm-hmm.
to be part of their roundtable discussion on taking the electric mobility mission of India forward, right? We have only been doing our duty, nothing beyond the call, right? But
Yes,
then
sir.
look at the impact that it has created.
Yes, sir.
So the country's top think tank, right? The top, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the dream of any IAS senior officer is to retire as the chairman of Niti Aayog, which earlier was called as the Planning Commission of India. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when he has invited us to be part of that roundtable discussion, where major think tanks were part of it, and Gati was identified as the only player from the logistics industry who can guide them into
EV.
e-mobility, right? And that is when we realized that it is not just a solution to IKEA alone; it is a solution to the country, and then the country is in dire need of that solution. So out of these thoughts came this idea of Avaan India, right? Then we
Great.
started selling the solution to our existing customers. We bounced with our customers like Amazon, Flipkart, Big Basket, etc. And they said, "Wow! I mean, nobody has done so far. And if you want to do it, and a player like Gati wants to do it, why not?" So that is how the whole idea started. And like in every organization, Gati also was a huge organization, but these kind of
Mm-hmm.
innovations and initiatives require a quicker and lesser turnaround times. So that is
Mm-hmm.
when we carved out a new company called Avaan India, so that we are
Awan. Mm-hmm.
agile, we are quick to adapt, quick to change, plan, test, fail, cheap, and again, right, redesign and work. So that is how Avaan India concept was born out of this
Mm-hmm.
single series that we started for IKEA. And as on today, we serve IKEA, Gati, Big Basket, and serving Amazon and Flipkart on the pipelines. So that is
That's
how Avaan
great, sir.
India has started. Yeah.
First thing is, you're truly an amazing orator. And the second thing is, all I could remember from hearing to your story and Avan's story, they say that every great journey doesn't just start at the moment, but it must be backed by a lot of inspiring things. I think that is the case in Avan's as well as your journey. As you said, you started your career as a design engineer, and now you have become the COO in a span of less than 10 years. So, how is that growth possible, sir? And what is the secret behind your growth?
Okay. So first of all, I would credit all this to my God in whom I believe. I follow Jesus Christ. I believe in
Okay.
Him. I give the credit to Him because He really has blessed me with the right opportunities and guided me rightly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing, of course, the credit I give it to my parents who have really encouraged me. Despite their limitations, they have given their best in their abilities. And the most important thing, third, is all the companies that I worked with, the bosses and the managers that I've worked with, because they've invested their time, their efforts, their resources into me
Yes.
in developing. I think that's a very great question, which I come across most of the times, both
Mm-hmm.
by my peers, my juniors, my seniors, and my colleagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was it possible that a design engineer could rise to a position or a
Level of
designation of
CEO.
chief operating officer in less than 10 years? Uh, while I gave all the credits, due credits, I would also like to give certain points which I really held firmly. And I believe if anybody owns these values and then starts investing in them, can repeat the same success story which I have seen in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, from the very beginning, I never behaved as an employee. I
Okay.
always behaved as an entrepreneur, right? An
Great.
entrepreneur in an organizational setup is called intrapreneur,
Entrepreneur. Hmm.
right? That means when a task is given to you, when a role is given to you, it is not about just completing the task, but it is about owning up the task and owning up the role. When you
Totally.
own things up and start addressing and solving those things, it won't be that you come to a problem and then you go to your senior, yeah, how do I solve it? And you solve the problem, and then you come across another problem, and then now you go to some other person and try to figure out how do I solve it. So, right. I mean, once you get into that intra slash entrepreneurial mindset, you will always have the bigger picture before you, and you will
Yes.
start working towards it. Example, some of my inspirations that I gained from, Indra Nui, right?
Yes, sir. The CEO,
I'm
ex-CEO.
sure.
Mm-mm.
Exactly, PepsiCo. I'm sure when she started, her career with Indra as with PepsiCo,
Mhm.
probably she would have started at a normal designation, right? But I'm sure, because I mean the reason why she became the CEO of Pepsi, because she was always able to see that bigger picture. Look
Mhm.
at Sundar Pichai, right? He's the CEO of, right, one of the world's best technology companies right now. But then I'm sure he did not join the company as a CEO, right? He joined as a company as a probably a development engineer or VP,
Engineer.
or a
Mhm.
product manager, right? But
Mhm.
then he had the dream that one day I would be the CEO of this company. Take Satya Nadella, take Rajeev Suri, the CEO of
Mhm.
Nokia, right?
Mhm.
All these guys, when they started, they would have started like us, right? An engineer, a management trainee, a design engineer, a scientist. But then all of them, I'm sure, would have had that bigger vision and bigger thought of one day I will be at the helm of the topmost position in the organization. And I think that
Yes.
is how, that is what would have motivated them. And from day one that I hit the organization, I had this dream, and my dream is not yet over. I'm still dreaming to see myself as as CXOs of one of the top organizations in the country slash in the world, adding value to a lot of people and giving life to a lot of employees. Right, that I'm still in the process of realizing this vision and dream. But
Mhm.
what the technique is, anybody who adopts this symbol tick, right, trip, that is, do not look at your job as your job. Do not consider yourself as an employee, but always position yourself as an entrepreneur slash entrepreneur,
Entrepreneur
and
mindset.
have that big picture, have that
Mm.
big vision in mind. I'm sure you will start going in that direction.
Yes, sir. As you rightly pointed out, it's all about the passion and the mindset and the dream that we have. So, truly, it is inspiring. Talking about Awan now, when I went through the website, what caught my eyes first was Awan is a crusader of green energy. At the same time, it is promising its clients for the cost effectiveness. So, what are the different models that you have adopted and the trial and errors that you went through to strike a balance between the environment friendly solutions and the cost effectiveness promise?
Great. That's a great question, Subbalakshmi. I really
Thank you,
like
sir.
the way you did the research and you dissected into the details and then bringing the right questions so that
Thank
it would
you, sir.
benefit the audience, right?
Audience, yes,
Great.
sir.
Yeah. So let me tell you in three simple steps.
Okay.
You know what is the one of biggest things? Change is one
Mm.
of the biggest things to conquer, right? Change is basically a resistance factor. I mean, people do not really like to change, right?
Yes.
Maintaining the status quo is something everybody likes. Change is
Mm.
really, right, something
That
that
disturbs
really offers,
them. Actually.
yeah, huge resistance. And that was the same case with electric vehicles also. Who are the ecosystems in these electric vehicles? First and foremost thing, drivers, right?
Mm.
So electric vehicle, I mean, I know electric phone, I know electric TV, I know all electric mixies. But electric vehicle,
Vehicle.
a vehicle that runs on electricity, not on diesel and petrol, that too we are talking about drivers who drive Tata Ace, who drive
Mm-hmm.
Piaggio A, Bajaj RE, right? These
Yes.
conventional goods carrying
Mm-hmm.
vehicles. So the first battle for me is to win their hearts, to win
Mm-hmm.
their confidence. So
Mm-hmm.
what we have done is we said you don't have to buy the vehicles, right? Forget about that particular problem of, right, you considering you becoming the owner of the vehicle, and if
Mm-hmm.
something happens to the vehicle, it's right. The
Mm-hmm.
company takes care of it. Number one.
Okay.
And then what we said is you will be given adequate training on how to use these vehicles. And I myself drove those vehicles, right, in front of them
Oh.
to instill that confidence in them.
Ha, 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 ha.
And then once they started driving these vehicles, immediate things they noticed is, sir, there is no noise at all. I do not know whether the vehicle is on or off. And
Mm-hmm.
there are no much levers to play. It is just the
Mm-hmm.
accelerator and the brake and the switch. That's it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then they started understanding the value of the product. So the first thing that I had to battle out is change. Okay. The second thing that I had to battle out was the cost effectiveness. Like you rightly said, right?
Yes.
Generally the customers want the skies, but their payment should be to the ground, right? In general,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
even we as customers, right, we
Yes, we
expect that,
expect the
yeah, right,
same,
it's bad, etc. But when
but
it
at a
comes
low
to coming to
cost.
the, when it comes to committing ourselves, right, we kind of right. So electric vehicles at the first point were a little expensive than conventional vehicles. So obviously the upfront cost is higher. But then how we have worked on the business model is the operating cost of electric vehicles is cheaper. It is almost 1/3, because if you look at the diesel vehicle, say for example, the diesel costs around 70 rupees, right? And assume that 1 liter of a diesel, a vehicle can run say up to 20 kilometers, right? That means per kilometer cost is roughly 3 to 3.5 rupees or 3.5 rupees. Okay. Now look at the electric vehicle on the other side, right? Electric vehicle, the vehicle that I'm talking about is a 6 kilowatt hour vehicle. That means it needs 6 units of power to fully charge. Now with 6 units, it kind of runs to around 60 kilometers, sometimes to 80 kilometers the other time. Right? Now the per unit cost of the electricity is around 8 rupees or 10 rupees, right? So then it is around 60 rupees and 60 kilometers. So it is roughly, or 80 kilometers is less than 1 rupee. That means you have a 3 rupees 50 paisa model on one hand, and you have less than a 1 rupee model on the other hand. So it is very clear. The operational cost of this is less, but it is only the capital cost that is more. So what we have done is, we have ensured and we have tweaked the operations such a way that, and how do you reap out of operations cost? Only when you run more kilometers. Correct? Because per kilometer saving you have around 2 rupees, and that saving will reflect overall when you run 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 1000 kilometers. Suppose you run 1 lakh kilometers in a year, example, just as an example. That means you have already recovered 2 lakhs, which could be the difference between a regular vehicle and an electric vehicle. That means in first year itself, you have recovered the capital cost. So this is very simple, very fundamental. What we have done is, we have tweaked our operations such a way that an electric vehicle is put to more running in a day, and thus bring down the recovery cost of its capex that is already already spent on it. While we did this, we were able to maintain at some point of time the same rates what the diesel counterparts were also coming. So the customer was happy. Of course, you are delivering it through a higher technology product, electric vehicle, but still you are not charging me the premium, but then you are maintaining the same cost, right? So first one is resistance to drivers. Second one is how bringing the cost effectiveness to the company. And the third most important thing is evangelizing it. See what happens. These two could be success stories, right? But until the success story is repeated and respelled and retold by many people, it is really not success, right? Now evangelizing this story with multiple customers and then telling them what value they have got. And this is not easy, right? Because as I said, the myths people carry are terrible, right? But then when these are the key things I had to really face. One is resistance, other one is passing on adhering to the cost commitment to the customer, and third one is evangelizing to the customer. When we have done these three, we were able to successfully kind of deploy EVs, and then have started our initial journey of being a successful startup in the electric mobility segment, delivering products through electric vehicles.
Interesting, sir. Actually, your answers are straight to the points, and all I could see from you is you're not a boss, you're a leader, because you have gone to the fields, worked with the people, and made them understand the value that they are providing to the people by using the electric vehicles. So wonderful. So moving on, Awan is also into creating charging stations infra. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
So can you please tell the audience what are the nuances that are involved in the process of setting up the charging stations, and what is the business opportunity behind there?
Great. See, this is like chicken and egg story, right? Will electric vehicles be successful? Yes, they will be successful only when there are abundant charging points, right? Will charging business be successful? Of course, charging business will be successful provided there are many electric vehicles. Right? So this is definitely a chicken and egg story. We will tell you how we have solved this problem.
Okay.
So first we have decided that whether whichever is chicken and egg, we really don't care. We need vehicles, right? Because our client insisted that we need to deliver. So we procured the vehicles, and because the vehicles have come, we have to install the charging infra also. That was when we realized that charging infrastructure actually is an opportunity by itself, especially for a player like Gati at the time, which was present in 600 plus cities. and with
Mm-hmm.
warehouses of huge sizes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have our own captive requirement of vehicles.
Okay.
So then it made very much sense to us that charging infrastructure as a business model, not only for captive consumption, but if only we open up these things to the public also, it makes sense. So for us, it worked really well because we already have the vehicles which could kind of consume the investment that we have made on charging infra, and then it is
Okay.
only an extension that we are handing it over to public. So, right,
Okay.
this is in terms of Avan story. But
Mm.
now your question is this a great charging? Is this an opportunity for public? I think before 2018, yeah, prior
Mm-hmm.
to 2018 December,
Okay.
uh, anybody and everybody can install electric charging infrastructure,
Okay.
right? But in 2018 December, between 14th or 17th, one of these 2 days, the Department of Power
Mm.
came up with clear guidelines of who can install these EVs and how one can install EVs, right? So prior to that particular guidelines, the maximum capex that is required to install a charging infrastructure could be around 2 to 3 lakhs. But
Okay.
now,
Mm.
because there are multiple protocols, I will not get into the details there. Because,
Okay.
say, for example, how do I call it? Maruti Suzuki gets charged in one direction, in one protocol, and Tata Tigor slash Mahindra Ito are charged in a different protocol. If you look at Tesla, Tesla has got its
Mm-hmm.
own protocol, right? So every product
Mm-hmm.
has got its own technology, and this policy tried to address all of them. That means it says you need to have minimum GB by T protocol, minimum
Mm-hmm.
CHEDEMO protocol, minimum CCS protocol,
Okay.
and also with that Bharat DC protocol, right? So when these things have become mandatory, the requirement has become more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to early entrepreneurs, I would recommend that start looking at different business innovative ideas around electric vehicles and the ecosystem. Say, for example, mobility of people, mobility of goods, delivery of goods, and all these things, maintenance of those vehicles, right? These are all important.
Mm-hmm.
Charging infrastructure, since the investment at this point of time is a little high, and the return on investment, if you have deeper pockets and can wait for longer, yes, that makes sense. But if at all,
Okay.
I mean, you really want to start and then you're expecting your return on equity really quick, at this point of time, maybe charging infra is not the right place to consider.
Okay, that's a very practical answer, sir. So, talking about the marketing aspect, you also said convincing the people and breaking the myths is always something challenging. So,
Yeah,
what are the inhibitions that the clients usually have when you pitch in the idea for the electric vehicles for their last mile delivery?
you're right. I think this is very good, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, most of the clients that we deal with, whether it is Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
Basket, IKEA, they are already established brands in the market,
Mm.
and their commitment to the customer in terms of SLAs are awesome. If they
Okay.
say that the particular product would be delivered in this time slot,
Mm.
may heavens fall down, it has to be delivered in
Yes.
that time slot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the standards of SLAs our customers are already accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, their main worry is this being a new technology, what would happen if the vehicle is broken down on the way? What would happen if the charging is consumed on the way?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if these products do not reach to the customer in time? Right? These are all very genuine questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we have strategically built up our own SLAs to
Okay.
answer all these questions through processes. Example,
Okay.
we set up processes which says that no vehicle without 100% charge will leave the hub for deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
When does the charging happen? Throughout the night, 6 hours, the vehicle is plugged and then the charging happens. So by
Okay.
default, right, every vehicle at the beginning of the day is 100% charged. If for some reason some vehicle is falling short of the charge, that will not leave for deliveries, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we maintain X% of vehicles as reserve in the hub, so
Okay.
that in case something goes wrong,
Mm-hmm.
we already have a backup which kind of goes quickly, does the job. Number three, we trained our drivers in minimum technical expertise that is required,
Mm-hmm.
which they themselves can fix without actually looking for a service engineer or somebody, right? If something is wrong, they are basically trying to fix this up and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And when we brought these processes, when we implemented them, and when we started showing them in the SLAs and in the deliveries, that is when they gained confidence and then said, good, keep
They are
going.
into it.
Yes.
So, as you rightly said, it's all about the proper planning of the resources and the proper training of the personals that decides everything. So, moving on now. So, you must have heard this question in many platforms, I'm very sure. So, please tell us the audience about the scope that is involved in this EV segment and how is this government supporting it?
Great. So let me share my screen with one. I'll just share one particular slide
Sure, sir.
just to show how the government is supporting it,
Okay.
so that they know that we are not talking in the air, and whatever we are talking with facts and
Yes.
results,
Evidences.
evidential things. Let me just open it. Can you see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Now, just a background. So there is a mission that was formed by the government called National Electric Mobility Mission Plan,
Okay.
right? And this is the mission plan that drives the electric mobility adoption and progress in the country.
Great.
Now, out of this came two policies, FAMES 1.0 and FAMES 2.0. What does FAME acronym stand for? Faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles,
Okay.
right? FAMES 1.0. Now, FAMES 1.0 was long gone, and now we are in FAMES 2.0.
2.0.
So look at the total, I would say, total
Fund requirements in crores.
funds that were allocated to complete FAMES 2.0, 10,000 crores of funds, right? Out of this 10,000 crores of funds, 1,000 crores are allocated for charging infrastructure. 10% is for charging infrastructure. That means, since government also knows that, it requires a lot of capital, government is also supporting in it. And roughly 8,500 crores are for demand incentives. Demand incentives in the sense to create the demand in the market. Now we will focus on what these 8,500 crores are into. Okay. Now these 8,500 crores are, of which 3,500 crores is for electric buses. Since we are talking about entrepreneurs, we are talking about startups, we are talking about the audience base like this, I will excuse this particular thing from this, right? 3,000, because they cannot tomorrow start an electric vehicle bus manufacturing company, right? We need to be practical. So if you exclude this 3,500 crores, then what you have is roughly around 5,000 crores. And this 5,000 crores, of which 2,000 crores is allocated for two-wheelers, 2,500 crores is allocated for three-wheelers, and around 500 crores for four-wheelers. Now, what does that mean? This means if you wanted to really, the opportunity is huge, right? The government has clearly written down that was 10,000 crores I have allocated for electric mobility mission, of which around 8,500 crores is demand incentive. That means only for vehicle manufacturing. Right? That means people who are going to buy these vehicles will get these incentives. These 10,000 basically these crores go to them. Now, imagine the kind of product portfolios that we are talking about. We have two-wheelers, three-wheelers, also electric buses. What are the immediate opportunities for anybody? Identify what components get into these particular product portfolios, and then see if you can, if you have the expertise or knowledge to own up, even if it could be a simple component, right? Even if it could be a small sensor, or even it could be a small a motor for a two-wheeler, whatever it is, right? Identify if you can become a manufacturer or a designer or a producer of that product. And when you become a producer or a manufacturer of the product, then you can start supplying those products to these You cannot build an electric vehicle, two-wheeler or a four-wheeler all by yourself, but you can always build a small component that fits into it, right? Yes. Then all these vehicles, because these are electric, these are also, most of them also have IoT assistance, right? That means they are connected vehicles. There is data that is churned. The data is always analyzed for different things. Now, if you are into data analytics and if you are into building of softwares, you can also consider if you want to build certain softwares, right, through which you channel the data what the vehicle throws at you, and then come out with certain dashboards or certain solutions or certain recommendations. Number two. Number three, applications, right? These vehicles are used either to ferry goods or to ferry people, correct? You can become a fleet operator, you can become a fleet owner, right? And then start, for example, electric. If you look at Delhi Metro issued an open order of 1,000 electric buses to be deployed. Now, if at all you approach any of these Delhi, whether it is Hyderabad Metro, Delhi Metro, Chennai Metro, and you say that, hey, I'm going to buy a couple of three-wheelers electric, and I'm going to run as an institutional support to the passengers from their metro station to their last mile delivery. These metro operators will be very happy to accommodate you, right? So, like I said, either into manufacturing, either into software technology, or into the application, right? That is through people movement or goods movement. You have all these three opportunities available for anybody to carve out either a career for them or carve out a business plan for them. Now, let me stop this sharing.
So I should say this total presentation was an eye-opening one, because I had no idea that such funds were allotted. I'm sure this is going to be very useful for many people who are so passionate about electric vehicles. So moving on, you had been the product manager before. So there are so many budding entrepreneurs out there who want to, match their product with the market requirements, and they are struggling with that. So can you please give them some suggestions on how they can ensure that product market fit?
Great, that's a great question. In fact, anybody who is a product manager right now, or who is aspiring to be a product manager, first of all, my congratulations to you. Why? Because the other name of product manager is mini/micro CEO.
Okay.
Right? That means the product manager is completely responsible for the product in terms of its technical abilities or specifications that it carries, in terms of its market fit from the customer's perspective, in terms of its promotions, its sales, profitability, and everything, right? A product manager is the complete owner of the product. So that is why I call it's a mini/micro CEO role. Now, how do you ensure that there is a product market fit, right? On this, let me reverse the order and come. Let me first bring the market first, right? Now, what is a market? Market is generally a need, either existing or a need which you are able to create and show to the customers that there is a need, right? One is a said need, a need that you can always see. Other one is unsaid or unarticulated need, which you can always, right, bring that on. A need, and that need to be solved through a solution, right? That solution could be a physical product, a technical product, or a service, right? Now, as long as you identify the need and you try to solve that requirement, and that need can be solved in three ways. One, invent a solution. There has never been a solution before, and you are inventing it. Example, just as an example. Earlier, when we wanted to book a car, right, pre-Ola Uber days, we probably have to go to that. We only book a car only when we go for marriages or some kind of a family. People who don't have cars. People have cars, they can drive. Right? We go to the travels, we talk to them, what is this, what is the driver beta, what is this, right? That is how earlier it used to be. So a need for car has already been, is already there. But what Uber and Ola saw is a need for car on demand. Right? That's something that they have seen. So they have invented a solution where they have aggregated all the car service owners as well as the car users, and then that is there, right? That is where we call it exactly. You are inventing a solution. Now, the second thing is there could be a solution that is available, but that needs improvement. Second thing is you improve, right, on an existing solution. Just for example, Facebook is one such. It all started with right, a regular social platform. Then they said, hey, why don't people interact via Facebook? Then they started Facebook Messenger. If you have noticed, earlier Facebook only used to have a button called like. That's it. Right? But then they said, but people also might have a need to laugh at certain status, to be grieved of certain status, to show to express their anger, right, or their dislike. And
Hmm.
now you see all those emojis added onto the Facebook, right? This is
Hmm.
where improvising things, right? One is inventing, where the need existed but no solution was there, so solution had to be invented.
Hmm.
Second one is you improvise on the solution that is there. Third one is making it economical, right? Making it economical. That is, okay, solution might be existing, maybe it is best, right? But then is it economical to the end people, right? Now, making it economical, I bring Avaan India as an example, where
Hmm.
electric vehicles as products they exist, but do the customers need it? Will the drivers own it? These are all the questions which is basically on affordability and bringing the cost down. That is where we kind of built in systems and processes where it becomes more affordable, right?
Okay.
So a market can be solved in these three ways. Now identify whether your which category your product fits in. Is
Hmm.
your product a complete new invention, or your product an improvement to existing solution, or your product solving a problem by bringing the cost down? Another example is Xiaomi mobile phones, right?
Hmm.
Xiaomi features, if you see, are very similar to the features offered by high-end iPhones or Galaxy. Features are all same, but what Xiaomi has done, they have made the products highly competitive, right? They worked on their innovation and brought the costs down,
Cost down.
right? Yeah. So as a product manager, as a product owner, you need to first understand what problem are you solving,
Hmm.
and how are you solving the problem. Are you inventing a new product? Are
Hmm.
you improvising this? Or are you adding value in terms of economics? Now,
Hmm.
once your answer is clear, then I'm sure you have the right product market fit. If your answer is dicey, for example, you might say, no, I'll improve it, I'll also bring the cost down, it is also a new invention. No, no, no. Then you will be in a no man's land, right? You cannot really fit it. I mean, none of the buckets own you, and then the product
Hmm.
doesn't really fit the market, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, the other, I mean, one should be your core. The
Hmm.
other two could be the side effects, right? But you cannot be core of all these three. So understand where your product is exactly fitting into
Hmm.
these categories. And
Hmm.
once you are aware that this is fitting into category, ensure
Hmm.
that you stick to that journey throughout.
Okay.
You have a
Hmm.
problem that is defined, you have identified a solution, and now you're trying to build that solution. Now,
Hmm.
don't let your problem change, your problem statement change.
Hmm.
Don't let your product development also change.
Hmm.
Unless the market has dramatically changed and then you need for a new call of a problem statement, that is all right. But I don't think markets would change so drastically in months time or so, unless black swan
Hmm.
effects like COVID, etc. Otherwise, these principles remain the same. Identify what need you're going to fulfill,
Hmm.
identify which of the categories that your product gets in, and
Okay.
stick to that path throughout. Then your product will have the best market fit, and your product will be successful, and you will be a successful product manager.
That's a very detailing answer. I'm sure that this video can be played and be useful not just for the budding entrepreneurs but also for the students who are into management. Actually, I think you should try lecturing sometimes. So, in your free time, obviously.
Thank
So
you.
yes, sir. I have thought of one question because you have worked in MNCs and also in startups. So that is why I'm asking you this question. So, what is
Yeah.
something that you found very common in both, and what is something that you found very different in both MNCs and startups?
Okay. So let me talk about my journey. Yeah, you're right. I started my career with TVS Motor Company, and
Mhm.
TVS Motor Company, the fundamentals are very Japanese, right?
Yes.
Pokai, 5X, Toyota production systems, all those
Mhm.
kind of things, they really obey and demonstrate.
Mhm.
From TVS, I joined Bosch. Bosch is a German MNC, and again, Bosch is completely process driven, right? That means, as a person, you have less ability to add value, because the processors are built such a way that
Mhm.
the chair will do the required thing, right?
Mhm.
So having worked with these two, and then I've joined from there Mahindra and Mahindra, which is again
Okay.
the one of the India's leading automobile. But
Mhm.
fortunately, I joined into an innovation vertical of Mahindra and Mahindra.
Okay.
So the beauty of MNCs is MNCs teach us how to establish and stabilize processes,
Okay.
how to bring automation into picture, how
Mhm.
to eliminate and avoid the human error,
Mhm.
right? These are the things MNCs teach us, and this is very important, especially for when you're thinking about scaling up, when you're thinking about right customer delivery, right, and customer delight, these are very, very important. And when you're,
Standardization.
yes, bringing standardization, automation, process driven, these are very important. That is what I learned at MNCs.
Mm-hmm.
What I liked at startups is the speed and the agility, right? I mean,
Okay.
I think of something, and probably within the next 2 3 days, I there would be only few decision makers. Only thing I need to do is I need to kind of throw this idea to them and then convince them that yes, this works. And all it takes is few days to implement this and then see whether this works or not.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas while the processes are important, got it, but then processes in a way what they do, they kill the speed. You come gate 1, you pass gate 2, gate 3, then you pass that gate 4. Whereas in startup, it is all about, this is the value I found, now let's quickly do it and let's implement it and then see what it has got. So the best of MNCs is the processes which will not let anything to fail or fall easily. And then the best of startups is the speed and agility, right, with a quick turnaround action. I think when these both are combined together, that means you build those minimum processes that are required so that you have some kind of a standardization in what you're talking about. At the same time, do not lose the flavor of speed. I'm sure you'll be successful. Example of this is Tesla,
Yes,
right?
sir. Mm-hmm.
Look, I mean, just in 8 years' time, right? And look,
Yeah.
today the highest, the market valuation, Tesla has crossed even Toyota, right? If you look at the
Yes,
top
sir.
25
They are in the they are in the
automakers,
top 10. Uh-huh.
yeah, Tesla has got the highest market capital, right?
Ah,
Capitalization. Why?
capitalization. Yes, sir.
Because
Market cap.
this is this.
Mm.
They have the processes in place and they have their speed test, right? And that is why they were able to compete and beat centuries old or decades old automotives, right? Toyotas and Volkswagens and Daimlers were, I mean, donkeys, yes, they have been existent, but then this company less than 2 decades old, right, kind of doing something really
Yes.
magical.
So, from what you have said, all I could think is no matter whether we work in a startup or in an MNC, we got to learn something from everything. We can't deny that. So,
Yeah.
so moving on, sir, talking about Avaan India again. So, when the COVID pandemic suddenly broke out, what are the challenges that you faced in transporting?
Okay. So COVID as a black swan effect was a blackout, phase for all of us. We were not understanding what was happening. I think the government was also was not clear what to do. So immediately it started complete shutdown. So we also kind of shut down operations. Nothing was moving. But then the government came up with the point that, hey, essentials can be moved on, right? So some of our customers say, for example, we serve Big Basket and Big Basket sells groceries, right?
Yes.
And then we started running and delivering these groceries even during these pandemic days. But then again, we have put processes in place of how a customer delivery expert, that's what we call, needs to sanitize himself while he enters the hub, and while he is handling, how he has to really handle the products, and at the time of delivery, how they do a contactless delivery without necessarily going to the customer's house, but then leave all of them spread
At the
outside
doorstep.
his door, right at the doorstep. And then so we again brought in some kind of a hygiene factors and processes to ensure that the hygiene is maintained. So that way, even during the pandemic days, we only took break in the first 2 3 days because there was no clarity. But once government gave us a go ahead that these can be delivered, we have been working continuously.
Great. That's great, sir. So, as you are an evangelist of electric vehicles, I'm sure that you would have thought about this. So, talking about the technological disruptions like even EV and then the drones, usage of drones and the unmanned vehicles, how do you think these are going to impact the industry? And how do you think this COVID is actually going to fasten the entry of such technological disruptions?
I think that's a beautiful question, Subbalakshmi.
Thank you.
Now, if at all COVID brought something, what is it? Is strongly is social distancing, right? I mean, earlier, whenever you meet somebody of your known or an unknown, known to you kind of hug them and say hi, how are you, and then unknown at least you would shake hands, right? Now, whosoever it is, we maintain the social distancing, right? So I think that's a very, very a strong message that has come to all of us. And at this point of time, contactless delivery or deliveries minus human would definitely take prominence. And in that context, going forward, drone delivery would take a very, very significant avatar. However, having said that, let me also tell you the recent developments that happened in drone delivery technology. So this drone delivery comes under DGCA, that is Civil Aviation Department, and there were around 13 consortiums which were permitted in the past to conduct experiments for beyond the line of vision. These are called BLOV drones. That means drones where the photographers and filmmakers kind of operate to shoot certain things. These are all working in the line of vision, right? I mean, you can see the drones at any point of time and then you can handle them. But when it comes to drone delivery happens in a, for example, 3 kilometers radius, 5 kilometers radius, where there is a point A launch pad, and then there is point B, another launch pad, and these are beyond line of vision, right? So 13 consortiums were allowed in last year to conduct multiple trials across the country. We are working with one of those consortiums based out of Delhi. But then, while they have allowed, very recently we also received a circular from the Department of Civil Aviation that beyond line of vision drones for deliveries at this point of time are put on hold. Okay, so from the securities and regulations perspective, I think government is taking a little more time, longer time, to come up with the right guidelines, which is again good for us. But I only see this as a temporary pause, so that the government comes with the right guidelines. But once the government releases and opens this up, drone delivery is going to be the future. Especially look at certain applications, right? Organ transplantation. Right now, whenever there is an organ, a heart to be delivered from point A to point B, we kind of create green corridors, right? I mean, there are also movies around them, correct?
Yes, sir.
How the complete roads are cleared, etc. Imagine with the drones and beyond the line of vision drone application that comes, there is a hospital at point A, and the organ from here needs to go to hospital at point B. Very simple. You put it in that particular freezer box and attach it to the drone. The drone picks it up and then delivers in a couple of minutes without disturbing the rest of the traffic and the rest of the people, right? Yeah. And then you also saw the drones application in Delhi and other areas, right, where the sprays were sprayed during the COVID days, and even during the locust attack. Right, in the night, I was told in the night in Rajasthan and other areas where drones were deployed to spray disinfectants on the locusts, right? So they already have multiple applications, and drones into delivery applications is definitely the future, not very far from now. So if there are any techno entrepreneurs who wants to really work in this area and build their career, I think this is the right time for you to invest your thoughts and efforts and energies into it, and this has got a great future.
That's a very interesting answer, sir. Now I'm finally coming to the favorite question of my show. I ask this question to almost every guest who comes. What is your source of resilience that keeps you on and on in the business, irrespective of you facing the challenges, sir?
Okay, like I said in the beginning, right? I get inspired, right, by Bible, and I will refer two verses which really keep me driving.
Okay.
In the Bible, there is one verse says, "Do you know a man skilled at his work? He only stands in front of the kings and not before ordinary man." Right? Clearly, if you really want to stand in front of kings, right, you need to really be skilled, right? I think this verse kind of really boosts me that, yeah, I really need to master and be the best at whatever I do. I need to acquire that skill, right? Why? Because I do not want to stand in front of ordinary men, but I want to stand in front of kings. Right? So this is what keeps me going, right? Whenever I feel like, yeah, what is it? It's not happening. Things are not happening. Things are not moving up, right? Then I see that as an opportunity to acquire a little longer skill. Maybe patience is also skill, right? That you cannot be patient just like that. You really need to practice. You really need to master, and you really need to get that skill, right? Then problem solving is a skill. It is easy to look at a block and then say, hey, there is a block, I cannot move, but then can I see beyond the block and then move, right? So all these kind of things, I get this source of inspiration from this. I'm sure each one of you will have your own sources of inspiration.
Yes.
be a problem solvers. Be problem solvers. Don't be afraid when you look at the problem, right? And once you start looking at things as a problem solvers, right? Once you are an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial mindset, right? That is when you will start looking at things as a problem solver. And when you start looking at things as problem solver, you will start saying, okay, now I've solved this problem. What is next? I really want to solve it. What is next? What is next? And that kind of keeps you pushing. And that was what keeping me really driven from inside.
Mm-hmm. So actually, you were saying about your source of inspiration, but you have been inspiring us since the start with all your answers. And every time the guest comes to the show, I'll make a point that they are very comfortable. But to be frank, you made me so comfortable, appreciating me for the questions and explaining to the audience almost everything about the EV segment. Thank you so much for being on the show today, sir. I'm sure that you would have also enjoyed talking to me.
Subbulakshmi, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed your preparation, and I enjoyed the way you have structured the whole discussion point by point. Nothing is abrupt. There is a very beautiful sequence and link through the complete conversation. And I also really appreciate the point that you asked all these questions not from your perspective, but from the audience perspective,
Audience,
right?
yes.
What audience would like to know and what adds value to them. I think you have a brilliant future ahead, Subbulakshmi. You have
Thank you,
started
sir.
this very all the very best. Keep it up, and all the best to Skyline Reachers, right?
Reach Skyline, sir.
Taking Skyline.
Reach
What is it?
Skyline. Reach Skyline.
Reach Skyline. Oh, so I reversed it. Sorry, like the product market, I have reversed it. So all the best to Reach Skyline, and I hope your channel will inspire a lot many people. And I think right, sky is your limit, as your name says.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed. See you, Subbulakshmi, and thank you very much, all the audience. Can I give on two points to audience?
Sure, sir.
Okay. So you can find me on LinkedIn with the name Rajeev YSR. You can connect me on LinkedIn, and then you can write to me. I'll be very happy to answer your queries, because one of the callings that I had in life, I'm having in life is, see, while I was growing up as a student, I did not have really many mentors to guide me, right? Probably had there been mentors, I would have really accelerated my growth much faster. But then having come from a small town, a rural middle class setup, I had my own challenges to overcome and then grow. So I do not want any of the other students or the entrepreneurs to unnecessarily go through the same path, and I want to be that little elder brother in their lives to kind of guide them, show them, because I already traveled that path, and said, they say, hey, I think this is the right direction, or this is the right direction. Sometimes you don't even have to direct. All they need is a word of encouragement, right? And that really boosts them. So I believe that is my calling, to inspire and influence people around me in a positive direction and help them realize their inherent potential that they have. So stay connected with me on LinkedIn. You can also stay connected with me on YouTube. The name is again Rajeev YSR. And very, very happy to connect with all of you audience through Subbulakshmi and through Skyline Reachers, right? Or Reach Skyline. Sorry, Reach Skyline. Yes, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. And my dear audience, as Rajiv has been saying, it's all in the mindset. If you have the right vision, the right mindset, irrespective of whatever the challenge that you face, you can achieve whatever you want. First, inspire yourself, and automatically you will inspire others. So with that note, I'll meet you in another episode with another interesting personality. Till then, keep learning and keep growing all together. Thank you.
Reach Skyline. Embrace digital.